everyone, it's Mary. Welcome back to my channel, and in today's Vlogmas video, we are going to talk about some gift ideas for giving books as gifts. I'm going to talk a little bit about just some general ideas that are good for people who are non-readers, and then obviously some ideas for people who are readers. Before we jump in to that topic, let's just discuss the fact that I look like a hot mess in this video. I had every intention when I was doing Vlogmas to record ahead of time, and I batch recorded, so I had like a couple of videos at a time, and then life happened. And so now I'm kind of recording my Vlogmas videos live as we go, which is not a bad thing, but unfortunately today ended up being super busy, so I didn't even get a chance to record until late tonight. And then I'm sitting in bed, I took my shower. As you can see, I have wet hair, took my shower, put my pajamas on, no makeup on. I'm sitting in my bed trying to edit the video, and there was no audio to the video. It was like garbly, and I thought, great. So I either have to skip a day of Vlogmas or pop up here looking like a hot mess in my PJs with no makeup on. I decided to go with the no makeup PJ look. So here are my lovely winter Cardinal Walmart pajamas, and we are going to try this a second time. Hopefully my audio does not mess up. So this is me before bedtime at like 10 p.m. 'Tis all good. Last night was kind of rough. We had tornadoes going through the area, bad storms, and it was crazy. So if you happen to be in one of the states hit by the tornadoes, hope you are well. Let me know if you're doing well in the comments below. We survived. We did have a tornado touchdown about maybe like 10 minutes from our house, but we were safe, so we are good. Okay. Let's talk about gift giving ideas for books, even though this is my second time doing this video. Anyway, so I'm gonna kind of just give you general ideas. I feel like I don't necessarily have like specific gifts, but just ideas for gifts, because at the end of the day, when it comes to reading a book, it really comes down to personal taste, right? So like a book that I love may not be a book that you love, and not everybody has the same reading taste. But what I love about giving books as a gift is that if you know a little bit about a person, you can usually pull it off. So I'm going to start with like young children and then work my way up to adults. A lot of the ideas will be similar depending on the age range, but you'll get the drift when we jump into it. So first and foremost, I feel like children are the easiest to buy books for, especially when they're small children, because small children are usually intrigued, like babies. I'm talking like babies to a couple years old are usually intrigued by similar things, right? They like animals, they like bright colors, and they like things that they can interact with, because otherwise they lose their interest in the book. This is one of the things I learned when I was teaching preschool. I taught various different ages in preschool. Even though I spent most of my time teaching the 4- and 5-year-old class, I did spend times in younger classrooms. And one of the things I found was that the young babies want a book that they can touch, that they can hear, that they can interact with. If you just sit them down and read a book to them, 90% of the time, you will lose their interest. So if you are buying a gift for a child in your life, whether it be your child, a niece or nephew, or friend's child, one thing I recommend for the babies, the little ones, is the touch and feel books. I will put a couple examples up as I talk about these. Touch and feel books are the ones where like maybe it's a bear and you can feel the fur of the bear, or maybe it's a cheetah and it feels like leather, or whatever. And there's different versions of this. They typically tend to be animal books, but there are many different versions of this that you can buy. I saw one that was weather, and it was like the cloud felt like a puffy cloud, like a cotton ball. So you'll have to look, and I definitely recommend, if your bookstore doesn't have very many of these, to look on Amazon, because there are several. Another one that I really love for little ones is books that make noises. So any book that, not necessarily the ones that read to them, at least not at the baby age, but like if it's, again, I'm using animals as an example because that tends to be a typical book theme in most like small children books. So if it's a cow and they press the button under the cow, it moves. Something like that tends to keep the interest of a young child. So I definitely think if you're buying for a young child, find a book that they can interact with. Similar story is when they get a little bit older. Again, you want a book they can interact with. So you want it to be a book that's super repetitive, one that reads to them, or plays music, or again is interactive. So a lot of these read-along books, the ones that read to them, are really good for kids that are just a little bit older. My 4 and 5-year-old preschoolers love the books that read to them. They thought they were so fun. And obviously back in the day when I was actually teaching, we had computer programs that would bring books up and read to them. But as far as a book that you would read to them, you want something that is repetitive. So a good example of this would be some of the Dr. Seuss books. There are a few Dr. Seuss books that are a little bit more simple. The one about the mother, I'm drawing a blank, but I'll put a picture up here of it. Eric Carle has several of them that are really good. He has the one about the polar bear that's really repetitive and good. And there's many other different examples. You can Google repetitive children books because the child will learn the pattern of the book, and then you can say, you know, the first part of the sentence is blah, 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 and then they can go, you know, whatever it is that they're supposed to repeat. So I would say any child that's like 5 or 6 and under, you want something they can interact with to keep their interest in the book. Once a child starts hitting, I would say upper elementary to middle school, and even some high schoolers, but definitely upper elementary to middle school, then you start having to try to tailor the book more to their interests. Kids go through phases of things they like. So for example, my niece had a Dora the Explorer phase. She had a Bratz doll phase. She had a Barbie doll phase. Then she went through her animal phase where she liked all the exotic animals like panda bears and things like that. My nephew likewise also had like a SpongeBob phase. He had a superhero phase where he was into Spider-Man and Superman. And as he got older, he got into Sleepy Hollow because his teacher read it for Halloween one year and he became obsessed with Sleepy Hollow. So we had to buy him all the Sleepy Hollow and like Headless Horseman stuff at the time and many different things. He went through a race car phase. So he went through several phases. And I feel like if you know the child well enough to know what phase they're in, you can find a book that fits their age that is that theme. So for example, when my niece was in like the Barbie stage, which is super easy if you have a kid in the Barbie phase, there are different level Barbie books out there, all the way from picture books that are literally just pictures, all the way up to actual chapter books about Barbie. You can find a full range of Barbie books out there. For my nephew, when he was especially in his Sleepy Hollow phase, you had Sleepy Hollow depictions that were, again, picture books, all the way up to the actual Sleepy Hollow written book that was like in actual like chapter format that was the original book content. So I feel like you can find a interest of theirs and you can get on Amazon or wherever and find a book that fits their age level that might interest them, that would be a good book for them. In a similar fashion, and when the child is a little bit older, like high school or college, I feel like you can typically get them to open a book if it's something that they like. My nephew is almost an adult now. He's 18. He loves music. He's obsessed with music. He's a guitarist and he teaches music and he's all into music. So a good example for him would be buy a book about like the history of guitars or the history of rock and roll or like something about his favorite band. Something music related I think would be great for him. Even though he may not be the world's biggest reader, he is more likely to pick up that book because it's something he likes. So the big lesson for children is, again, buy something they like. So kids, to me, are the easiest to buy books for because there's so many options out there for them. And if you know what they're interested in, it's so easy to find a book to buy. But adults, not so easy. Buying books for adults is really, really hard to do unless you know them personally. But there are some things that I definitely recommend as go-tos if you don't know the person or if they're a person that doesn't read. A good option is to buy classics. You can buy sets of classics. You can buy sets of classics that have decorative covers. You can buy special edition classics. Buying classics for adults is a safe way to go because most people know the classics. They have experience with the classics. They've probably read them in school. Whether they like or dislike them, it's a safe bet to get classics. You can go online and find several different ways to buy them. Most of the time you can buy different classic sets in like actual sets. They can be decorative. They can be by author. Sometimes you can get like top works of blah, blah, blah century. I really love getting special edition classics, especially like if you know somebody who likes Jane Austen or really likes Sherlock Holmes or whatever. you can find special editions of those that are really cool looking books. And even if they don't usually read, at least they'll like put it on a shelf somewhere because it looks pretty. So I feel like classics is a safe bet. Another safe bet for me is coffee table books. I know that sounds weird, but coffee table books are a good thing for people depending on their interests. So for example, I grew up in Northwest Indiana, Chicago area. There is a popular coffee table book in our area that's called Memories Along the South Shore. I know so many people that have this book and were given it for Christmas. And it's literally a coffee table book with pictures of Northwest Indiana and where we grew up. And it has pictures of like the train station and the lakefront and different cities, different popular landmarks in different cities. Likewise with major cities, like we're near Chicago. I know many people who have coffee table books of Chicago. People will put those out because coffee table books are kind of like a statement thing, right? Like people literally put them on their coffee table for people to look at. So if you can find a really interesting coffee table book, they will likely keep it and like it. Or if they have a special interest. So for example, if you have a friend who's really into like Harley Davidson motorcycles, buy them a Harley Davidson coffee table book. I've seen several of different versions of them, different kinds of hot rods and different things, different kinds of race cars, horses, whatever. You can find a lot of different coffee table books out there if you look hard enough. And those make good gifts, especially if you know their interest or if you know an area that they're from or if they like to vacation someplace. So for example, I had a boss one time, him and his wife every year would vacation at the Outer Banks because they did their honeymoon at the Outer Banks and that was their favorite place in the whole world. So for Christmas one year, I got him a coffee table book that was different pictures from the Outer Banks and they loved it. They would look through it and they'd be like, oh, we've been there. We did a picnic on that beach, and they knew exactly what they were and they were very excited about the book. So again, coffee table books are a safe bet. And then my last recommendation that I'm going to give for adults, because again, adults are a little bit harder. My last recommendation for adults is books that aren't really books, but that are more like journals. I have a book that's like a be present and relax book. And so it's 10 or 15 minutes every day of like reading a short passage, and it has some things you fill out. Sometimes you can find different versions of that have just little, like, if you know someone who's religious, get like a devotional book that's the same idea. Basically, it's just a short passage they read every day to kind of relax, to refocus, to inspire, to encourage, whatever. It doesn't have to be a religious nature. You can find some that are just like positive thinking ones. So you would want to obviously look and find one that's more geared towards that person's personality. Another thing that I really like is books that you actually fill out that are kind of like, they remind me of a baby book, but they're not a baby book. You know what I'm talking about? Where like, it's a book, but you have to fill out sections of the book. And so a really neat gift that my friend was given for her anniversary, I can't remember, it's like her 5th anniversary or something. Her and her husband were given a book that was a log of family vacations. So it was literally this journal that you could write down every family vacation you took your kids on. And it would be like, we went to here, and these are the things we did. This is the days, these are our favorite memories from the trip. And then it had a section where you could put photos in it. And she loved it. And I've also seen other versions of that are like, all about me, right? So like there's one that I really wish I would have bought for my mother before she passed away, that actually you write down, or you can write down for them, all of the memories in their lives. So like, what is your favorite childhood memory? What is your favorite place you went to on vacation? Tell me one memory of your father that made you smile. Tell me of a time in your childhood that you were really sad. What is your favorite accomplishment of your life? Like, it's a book for grandparents to fill out for their grandchildren, or for a parent to fill out for their child for down the road. So anything like that I think is good. They are really neat gift ideas for people who don't like to read, but maybe want to create like a family heirloom type thing. Or if you know someone who likes to scrapbook, like different scrapbooking books are good gift ideas, but you just have to look around. Those are my ideas. I hope that's helpful. I don't know if it is. I tried to keep it very general because, again, it's really hard to buy books for people unless you know them personally. So hopefully that's helpful. Hopefully I didn't forget anything. It's late. I'm tired. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.